Hawks likes this very much.
Welcome to
Coffee with Toffees.
Five, four, three, two, one.
Let's do this.
Good morning and welcome back to Coffee with Toffees on this December 8th, 2014. We've got some news for you today. First, we're going to start off with the plugs that we have to do every time. That is to say, my name is Toffees. You can follow me at Toffees_Dota2 for updates on when the show's happening as well as other things. You can go to our SoundCloud, our YouTube. You can find all of that through the Twitter. And that's where the show is hosted. We have RSS and podcasts for you available as well. So if you've been watching the show and you're thinking to yourself, man, I wish I had this available to me at all times, you can just go get that podcast or RSS set up for you. Finally, if you like the show and you want to support it, guys, you can go to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Toffees and choose to support the show. The mugs are done. I'm getting them shipped. And I'm actually working on some t-shirts with our designer, the guy who designed the Coffee with Toffees logo. He's actually going to prep that out so we can put that onto a shirt. So if you want to support and get those sent to you when they come in, you can absolutely do that and help keep the show running. All right, so that's it for the plugs. Let's get into the news. It's been a pretty interesting weekend, mostly quiet except for obviously the major event going on at the summit. So you didn't expect a ton of news to come out of the weekend. That said, we have had some big things go down. So we're going to go through all of that for you. And at the end, we're going to talk about the summit specifically. I'll give you a couple of thoughts and highlights. And then, of course, some very interesting facts that my friends over at Standard Deviants helped me find about C9 and their bridesmaid situation. So starting out with the pro news. This is the first one that's up. They're probably one of the biggest things announced over the weekend, and that is that NaviUS has officially, I focus on officially, disbanded. You may remember we had Brax on the show not long ago, and he talked about his time with NaviUS, the frustrations that he had with it. He's moved to SNA and will be sent. He's with them now. NaviUS has not, well, I guess it's not going to exist anymore. And long story short, they just sort of kind of fell apart little by little, and their people started to sort of depart, and it just isn't working. So NaviUS made their official announcement at the end of the day when they finally decided that they were no longer going to function. The official people on the roster were Snake King, Fogged, and Kurok. You may remember Thievin or 1437 was on the team, as was Brax. They left. We're still under contract. Ush joined the team for a while. He was mostly full-time, but he was standing in officially. Then they had some Merlini. I think MSS played with them a little bit. But nothing was working. And in fact, that's exactly what was said. A statement that was published. The COO, that's the Chief Operations Officer of Navi, actually released a statement. It's Igor Sidorenko, and he said the interpersonal relations between the players which disabled the squad to exist were the reason of our decision to disband the squad. We couldn't let the squad to go on with constant changes of the players. However, the development of NaviUS isn't over. In the near future, we will present a new Dota 2 squad. At the time of disbanding, the squad was officially, like I said, Snake King, Fog, and Kurok. So that means they're not out of the game just yet. It just means that they're looking for something new. Now, there's US teams out there looking for sponsors. I know LVT has been putting up some good numbers lately. They're looking for something. Sneakinix Assassin still technically doesn't have a sponsor. There's a couple of other really strong US teams that I think are up and coming that could be really good here. So look for them to make some moves. I know that they've had some stand-ins lately that would imply some relationships with other groups. So we'll see exactly how that goes. So that's the news on NaviUS. They are no more. I think that we all knew it was coming for a long time, but at the end of the day, it still hurts to see a big US team not cut the mustard, not stay together. So they do go their separate ways. And now part of the pro news coverage that we have been doing here on the show is that we have been covering the joint Dota Awards, and I did soapbox a little bit last week, and I got responses for those soapbox, so that was entertaining. But remember, we're all encouraging you to go over to Join Dota and vote for Sir Action Slacks is the top community producer, because I really think that he's one of the guys listed on there that's the most community-based. He's funded entirely by the community, not part of a studio in any way, shape, or form. But the new categories today are, this is a fun one, Drama of the Year. So the best drama stories of the year, and we'll go over them just so that you have an idea of what you're looking at, and kind of a year in review for Dota, I guess. Era and his trip to TI4. If you don't remember that, he had an injury. In fact, said he couldn't go, and TI said he had to, and there was a whole lot of questions about how it went. It ended up with Excalibur standing there, but if you go to the websites, the links are there, so you can see the official post and stuff. But there's a lot of brouhaha about whether or not Era was actually injured, or if they just thought Excalibur would be a better fit for them based on some other issues. So it was all resolved. Long story short, Fnatic doesn't exist anymore. So I guess Era wins that round. Number 2, Arrow Gaming Match Fixing. You may remember this, the big 3-2-2 big thing a couple of months ago. It was back in October, and it was the idea that the guys threw. The guys from Arrow Gaming had their girlfriends or their buddies place bets and then ended up losing the game. And apologized, but their manager forced them to say that it wasn't them. It was a big crazy thing. That was the Arrow Game match fixing. The next one up is the bounty changes in 6.82, which cracks me up because there's a picture on the website of Nahaz with the funniest looking face ever. And you guys remember when the 6.82 came out, Nahaz and the stat guys in general went crazy bonkers. And we're like, listen, this is going to break the freaking game. You cannot have this. And they're right. We still see rubber bands of like 3,000 to 4,000. We were seeing them of like 10,000 gold. It was ridiculous. And they were right. The stat guys were right. And a couple of weeks later, it was changed to what we see now. But 2,000 gold for a kill was just too much. And Nahaz saw it first. Kudos to him. That was a nice big drama move there. Dream League Season 2 admins, I don't know if you guys remember this, there was a huge issue with scheduling, and people said go to bed, and then Team Tinker was like, I don't want to go to bed, and long story short, there was this big issue between Chappie and the admins. Podcat was also coming in on the whole thing, and that's ultimately what I think resulted in GD Studio taking over the admin operations of Dream League. So that was a pretty big drama thing. I think that's definitely up there on the stories list. The F Vlat drama, which is basically Wagamama and Vlat going back and forth for a little while on Reddit over who paid whom for a star ladder once upon a time. The next one is the Fluffin blog. That was the one that Fluff posted about the crash and burn, I'm done waiting. He basically implied that he had thrown some matches. He was tired of playing with Liquid. He wanted a different way to approach things. After that was the TI4 eavesdropping by GameFi. I'm going to go over this one briefly because I don't think a lot of people know about this. GameFi is a major TV company in China, and they brought cameras into the planning rooms for two of the Asian teams in TI, DK, and I believe IG was also involved. IG, however, saw the cameras and stopped talking. DK did not, and essentially the cameras caught DK discussing their core strategy for TI4 and then published it online. And an English translation was put on Gozu, so all of their strategies that they had come up with, all of their core systems that they had developed for winning TI were exposed to the world, and that was a huge debacle. Ultimately, GameFi released a statement that said we apologize for our actions, but at the end of the day, like, what's that even mean? The next one up is D2CL, 20-minute remake, same picks. This was a great one. Long story short, they forgot to tick in a match. The admin said we're going to remake, leave the game, but he said it in spec chat, not in all chat. 20 minutes later, he was threatening, still in spec chat, to shut the game down because the players were not obeying him. Someone in spec then got into the game chat, or I guess texted someone, and they figured it out, and the players started to just give him a hard time. That said, he said, I asked for the remake right away. 20 minutes after the game had already been running, demanded a remake with all pick so that they could get the same hero. So that was a pretty good debacle. Fada's Miss Skill in Dream League in March. Long story short, they zoned in. Fada picked the wrong skill on the Shadow Fiend, and instead of saying anything, he and all of Sigma left. They just left the game and said, give us a remake. Which normally wouldn't cause a huge stir. We'd say, that sort of sucks. The problem was Roxkiss was doing a level 1 Roche. and everyone now knew about it, and it revealed the strategy, making it very difficult for them because they had to take the same picks but couldn't do the roast because now it was obvious. So that was a pretty good one, not a huge one. And then Alliance's double forfeit in the D2CL, which ended up knocking I think it was Team Tinker from an 8-6 to a 6-6, where Cloud9 was able to advance past them. So that was a big money loss drama. I think my biggest one for the year is probably Era and his TI4 move, because that was a really huge one. Like, that went all over the place. Everyone had comments. Fnatic released their records from the last 6 months. Like, that was a huge one. The Game FY, I think, was also a big one because of the situation where it sort of screwed over the guys going to TI4. So those are my 2 picks. I don't know who to vote for, so you guys can maybe let me know. The next big one, the next 2 things are a little bit easier to talk about. There's the 2 awards for Offlaner of the Year and Carry of the Year. So for Carry of the Year, the nominees are Loda, Burning, BZZ, Silent, How, Black, Eternal Envy, Luo, Sylar, Kuroki, Fear, Miracle, Ush, Kyohong, Illidan, and Havost. And I sort of wonder if maybe JD just picked every single carry because they didn't want to have to discriminate. A lot of great carries on here. You can make a huge argument for Black doing great things with VG throughout the entire year, including the summit yesterday. Great stuff. EE loves to play that Terrorblade. Ush kind of burst onto the scene recently and has been doing a really good job. I think that I've got to go with Black, but it's a really tough decision to make. Everyone's been doing great, so that's a good one. Over on the offlaner of the year, it's Universe, Ice, or Ice Cubed as I like to call him. Get Ice 3. Simba, Roddick, Bone 7, Zowie, Mag, In July, who's the LGD guy, Funnick, Sadoy, Admiral Bulldog, Sing Sing, Trixie, Rabbit, Ohio, Team Malaysia, or June. And that's another tough one. I mean, this is the offlaner of the year. A lot of good ones. I think a lot of folks are going to say Admiral Bulldog is the man to go with. Universe has been playing really, really well lately. Ice, and Roddick, like, how can you not love on them? And Simba, another player who's just sort of like burst out and shown his stuff lately. So a lot of good stuff there. I lean towards Bone 7, but a lot of options, a lot of people to talk about. I will not sway you. That one I want you to make the decision on your own. So those are the Join Dota Awards for the last 2 days. You can go over to Join Dota and vote for those. And that's it for the pro news. Let's roll over to the Dota 2 news, tournament news that you need to know. Dota 2 Asian Championships have been announced. They have a really cool webpage, but I can't read much of it. At the end of the day, they are saying that they are inviting 10 teams in January for a special promotional event. Haven't announced them all, so there's going to be 2 in Western region invited teams, and then the other 8, we don't know where they're coming from. But it should be a pretty big tournament. I'm not sure what the prize pool is in translation, but it's a couple $100,000, so it should be a very big one and get a lot of top teams coming out for that. So more information as I get it, but I want you guys to be aware of everything that's coming out in the tournament scene. Next up, ILeague. Virtus Pro and the Hellraisers have qualified for ILeague Season 2 advancement. They got through some pretty tough rounds. In the case of Hellraisers, they had to beat Legends and 4AC ASC to make it through. Virtus Pro had to beat Power Rangers, Denial, and Cleave. So they had a very, very difficult run for them. Those are a lot of strong teams, even down to Cleave, who's been a team that's been doing very well. So Virtus Pro, great job getting themselves into that. They got a little bit of a harder road, I think, than Hellraisers maybe did, though you could argue Legends and 4AC also top teams. All right, so that takes us to the summit. Now, remember I said that there wasn't a ton of news. That was a lot more news than I expected there to be. And now we talk about summit. The summit, spoilers if you haven't watched it, is over, guys. The winner taking home the grand prize is VG Gaming, or VG as I like to say. They did great, man. They beat C9 3-1. Had a wonderful game. Game 3, if you watch a replay, go watch Game 3, because that one was crazy back and forth at the end. So that's the one that C9 was able to actually take off of VG Gaming, but that was a good one. VG played to win. Black was phenomenal. Their teamwork was great, and I really loved watching the end of that tournament. So they did well. They walked away with a lot of money. We'll go over the money in a minute. C9, unfortunately, relegated to the same old position. I said it about 6 months ago, and I think I've been saying it ever since. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, man. C9 goes to these LAN events, and if it's not EG, then it's VG, and if it's not them, it's newbie. And they just keep pushing C9 into the second place positions, and that is just so tough, man. So they get money, but not what they could get. And I'll give you the stats on that in just a little while. So nice advance by VG in the consolation round. It was EG versus Secret competing for third place, and Secret beat EG 3-0. It was. I can say this about the summit. EG did not seem like the EG that I have known over the last month or two. They seemed uncomfortable or out of place, or something wasn't working for them. Maybe they thrive in that sort of classic style of LAN and this was just too casual or something, but they definitely struggled in this tournament, and it was abundantly clear. They had to earn their way out. They didn't get to the top two in the group stage. A lot of us thought that they would, and it was just kind of downhill from there. So a really, really tough match for them. To look at the earnings on the actual tournament, this is before contribution of what we have right now. VG Gaming takes home $133,000. Cloud9 takes home $74,000. Team Secret $44,000. Evil Geniuses $26,000. Not Today 8. Team Tinker 8. So keep that in mind. Evil Geniuses and Team Secret. It still matters. That game still matters. They lost $20,000 basically in that 3-0 sweep. So that's what happened in the summit. Go watch that last game 3. There's a couple of good barn burners from the previous day that are entertaining. The EG Secret games were fun and aggressive, but at the end of the day, 3-0, so you know you're not going to go very deep with that one. But here's an interesting thing. I asked the guys over at Standard Deviants to help me out, because I've been kind of on this second place C9 thing for a while. I noticed a while back ago they're having some trouble. Started talking about the bridesmaid bride thing, which I think is actually catching on. Other people are saying now, so thanks to anybody who's spreading that. It's a lot of fun. But here's what we got. If you guys want to give a props, I need to give a shout out to Motpax over with the Standard Deviants for actually doing the research and figuring this out for me when I asked him to. According to the 9 tournaments that are listed on Liquipedia. Now, there's a little confusion here because Aoi tweeted that they have 11 second place finishes, and I can't quite figure that out. I'm thinking that might have been for last year. But of the 9 that are listed on Liquipedia, the tournaments that they came in second place, their total winnings are $305,829. The total winning for the victors of those tournaments that we talked about that they were in were $759,296. What that means is that they've lost out, C9 has lost out on $453,000, 467 by losing one match in each of these tournaments. I'm going to repeat that. By losing a match at the end of each of these tournaments, they have lost out on $453.5 thousand. That is the quintessential definition of always the bridesmaid, never the bride. They get right up to that point, they get so close to closing the deal, and then lose more than they've made this year. They've earned in those tournaments $305,000. They've lost, because of that one match, $453,000. So that's a big stat, man. That's crazy to me. And I think that C9 is a good team. They're due for that push past. The question is, what is holding them back? Is it getting to the point where it's no longer a skill issue and it's a mentality issue? Because that's what it feels like, man. That's rough. And my heart goes out to those guys because you know they're going home tonight frustrated. As much as they joke about it, as much as Aoi tweets it out, as much as Eternal Envy pretends it's not hurting, that's a lot of second place finishes. And as someone who's been an athlete for most of my life until the knee went out, I know how hard it is to get a second place. It's almost worse, right? So kudos to them on their hard work. A real bummer in the loss of earnings. But that's it for tournament news. Now, last thing we do, as we always do, is our pick of the day. And we let you know what Dota FM is broadcasting for the morning or for the afternoon. Dota FM will not be on the air tomorrow because there's not a lot of games going on. First thing in the morning, right about now, actually, I think in the next hour, 3 hours from now, we'll see some of the Asian games for Star Ladder. A little bit early for me, and I don't usually recommend those because my listeners are waking up right now. So if you are listening on the podcast, these games are done. For those of you who are normally listening at Human Hours, there's only 2 games today that are worth mentioning. It's MYI versus Denial for the Battle of Central Europe, and AS versus Legends. Goes without saying, my pick today is MYI versus Denial. I think it'll be a good match, pretty evenly gone, but not interesting enough that we're going to fire up the Dota FM for you guys at work, unless my baby sleeps, and then I'll stop by and try to give you some coverage. That said, guys, that's the news for today. Yes, I will mention this because Twitch chat is bringing it up. Gods did do the Enchantress cosplay. You can find it on the front page of Reddit. It is literally, I think, the first thing on there. And the images are disturbing, to say the least. So there it is. Look at that. I found it in 13 seconds. Pulled it up for you. And Coddle Guy, it's so terrible. It's so disturbing. So disturbing. That said, Gurg is, the Gurg cosplay is probably my favorite. But, guys, and as far as Summit goes, I didn't get a chance to watch the All-Star game. I was only able to watch the actual games themselves because I do a lot of VODs. My son has a cold this week, so it's been a little bit difficult finding time to watch and take care of him. So those I heard were really good. I got to watch some of it. I got to see a lot of the Don't Talk Kelly Milky spam that came out. But that was a really fun game, the ARDM. That's what it was. Sorry, I did watch it. It was ARDM. It was a really entertaining game. If you haven't watched it, definitely go watch that replay. There was a big brouhaha about Noob from UA and whether or not he was able to put the VODs on his site. I'm going to go on the record and say that if you take VODs from a Twitch account, that's copyright infringement and you shouldn't do it. That said, BTS now has it up. You should go watch it because it was awesome. Back and forth. They clowned around for the first, 20 kills on each side and then realized, wait, there's $1,000 a person on the line. Maybe I should try harder, and went crazy with it. And it was awesome. A lot of fun to watch. So definitely go watch that. I missed the tag team, so I can't tell you how that went. But it was a great tournament overall. It was a really casual. It accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. I got to take Gods down. It's just too disturbing. So it was a lot of fun. I'm glad they did it. A big shout out to the guys at the summit. The casters did a great job. LD, Gods, Coddle, Zyori. Zyori put a lot of work into this one. I know that he did. I know that Blaze and Mott were doing the camera control, and the camera was probably one of my best parts for the summit. The camera control was a master's class in camera control. So kudos to them. Great work, guys. Thank you for listening. As always, my name is Toffees. Follow me at Toffees_Dota2. You can go over to Steam and join our chat at Toffees coffee.w/Toffees and get into the Steam chat so you can chat with us anytime you want when I'm online. You can support the show at patreon.com/Toffees, and that is, we're close to our $100 stretch goal, so I can bring a producer on to make my life a little bit easier. This is a lot of work, and I have a little one. So the donations do mean a lot. We actually put it towards being able to balance the time that I spend on here and stay at home with my son. So any support is appreciated. Don't feel obligated, just if you love me. And it's been wonderful spending the morning with you guys. Have a pleasant tomorrow, and as always, Toffees out.